Have you ever wondered how deep corruption can run in law enforcement? It's a question that became all too real for the citizens of Mississippi with the shocking unmasking of the rogue officers known as the Goon Squad. These were not your average officers of the law. They were a group who reveled in unauthorized break-ins, racially motivated assaults, and false charges against innocent individuals. Their tactics were nothing short of torture, employing stun guns and even staging mock executions to instill fear and exert control. This is not the plot of a crime thriller, but a haunting reality that unfolded right under our noses. These officers, sworn to protect and serve, instead chose a path of corruption and violence. But how did they get away with such heinous actions, and who were the unfortunate victims of their tyranny? Now let's delve into the victims' harrowing experiences. Imagine the terror of being targeted, tortured, and falsely accused by those sworn to protect you. The victims of the so-called Goon Squad in Mississippi know this fear all too well. They were subjected to racially charged violence at the hands of rogue law enforcement officers. The physical toll was immense, with victims assaulted with stun guns and other objects. But the emotional trauma runs even deeper. Michael Corey Jenkins and Eddie Terrell Parker, two of the victims, were not only physically tortured, but also endured a staged, mock execution. The horror they experienced, the fear for their lives, is something that will likely stay with them for the rest of their lives. And it wasn't just the direct victims who were affected. The actions of the Goon Squad served to rekindle and exacerbate racial tensions in Mississippi. The racially motivated nature of these attacks harks back to a dark chapter in the state's history, reminding us that the specter of racial violence is far from eradicated, but the victims did not remain silent. Despite the intimidation and the false charges filed against them, they bravely spoke out against their tormentors. They called for stiff sentences and emphasized the need for accountability in law enforcement. Their voices were heard, and their courage became a beacon of hope for others who may have been similarly victimized. These victims' courage in speaking out led to the eventual downfall of the Goon Squad. Their stories serve as a stark reminder of the importance of accountability and justice in our society. Justice can be slow, but it is inevitable. And so it was with the fall of the notorious Goon Squad. These 6 rogue Mississippi officers who once thought themselves invincible, found themselves on the receiving end of long prison sentences. Hunter Elward, one of the 6, was sentenced to roughly 20 years for his involvement in the torture of 2 black men. Christian Dedman received a hefty 40-year sentence, while Daniel Opdyke was given 17.5 years for his role. The severity of these sentences underlines the importance of accountability in law enforcement. These men who were meant to protect and serve, instead used their positions to inflict harm and perpetrate hate crimes. Their victims demanded justice, and the courts delivered. The reaction from the government was equally firm. Attorney General Merrick Garland condemned the actions of the Goon Squad, reflecting the gravity of their crimes. Beyond the criminal justice system, the victims, Michael Corey Jenkins and Eddie Terrell Parker, took their fight for justice to the civil courts, filing a lawsuit against the department. This lawsuit serves as a potent symbol of their resolve, a refusal to be silent in the face of injustice. These developments stand as a testament to the strength of our justice system, its ability to hold even those in positions of power accountable for their actions. But they also lay bare the systemic issues that can plague law enforcement, from corruption to racism. This case stands as a stark reminder of the systemic corruption and racism that can infiltrate law enforcement. What happens when the protectors become the perpetrators? This case has shaken the very foundations of trust in law enforcement, exposing a blatant disregard for human rights and the rule of law. The incident has not only highlighted racial tensions in Mississippi, but also raised valid concerns about police misconduct on a broader scale. The actions of these 6 officers, now infamously known as the Goon Squad, have become a chilling reminder of the systemic corruption and racism that can exist within law enforcement agencies. The government's response, led by Attorney General Merrick Garland, has been decisive. These officers are facing significant prison sentences, sending a clear message that such heinous acts will not be tolerated. However, the question remains, can this case be a catalyst for substantial police reform? And how will this impact the public's perception of those sworn to protect and serve? The tension between races may appear to be widening, but let's not forget, this case also represents a victory for accountability and justice. The victims, silenced and brutalized, found their voices heard in a court of law. Their resilience and pursuit of justice have sparked a national conversation about the need for change in our law enforcement agencies. As we move forward, the need for transparency, accountability, and justice in law enforcement has never been clearer.